Wow. These people. So just one day now, as you upgrade. Hey.
Hey.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So sorry for the issue.
That's okay.
Like they are telling me to upgrade.
Yeah, I was looking at their webpage. I was like, what happened? It's okay.
I think
Let's just I guess get right back into it, so we don't waste anyone's time. Thanks for bringing it back up, Oliver.
okay.
So Fragmented was the top podcast that I like to listen to. There are a ton of others that are popping up. New ones are popping up every day. So just to list them off here: Android Developers Backstage, Talking Kotlin, Android Snacks, The Context, Neapolitan, Material, Android Authority, and Android Leaks. So this is my favorite podcast app. I'm sure if you are into podcasts, you have your own favorite one. Google just recently released their own podcast app. But this one in particular is my favorite. I get to sort of queue up new episodes of podcasts whenever they get released. So the next one is visual. So if you're a visual learner, so these topics are going to be like what you should look at to help yourself learn quicker. And a lot of these are going to be obvious, but I can talk about specifically the Android developer related topics here. So on YouTube, there are a lot of YouTube channels out for Android development. The top one I would say is probably Android Dialogues. So that's kind of like a more personal interview style. You get to sort of see how Android developers work, and they talk on a very specific topic during that talk. It's a really great way to like just sit back and watch a couple of people talk about something in Android development. Google has a couple of their own. So there's an Android developers channel and a Google developers channel. Sometimes they produce great content on new APIs that are coming out. One of my new favorite ones that have just come out is one ran by a person named Nate Ebel. He has like these. He first started out with like these short videos that are really great for beginner developers, and he sort of expanded into a lot of different kinds of topics. He has a recurring kind of topic, which is like tips and tricks. So if you haven't heard of him, Nate Ebel, E-B-E-L, on YouTube, he's a great resource there. Also, a couple other ones, Realm Academy. Realm is a particular sort of like I would say a database platform, although it's not really a database, but they have produced it and hosted running videos for a lot of conferences. So they've produced a lot of top quality videos on YouTube. And then also, all the conferences out there, DroidCon, Google I/O, Kotlin Conf, all of those conferences out there are going to have playlists of all the talks of all the developers that were talking at their conference. I think it's a great way to sort of learn new topics and get involved in the Android developer community there. What I like to do with YouTube videos is just like, if I got some free time on the weekend, I'll kick back and watch some, cast it to a Chromecast on my TV. Just watch a couple. Let's see. So the next one, a lot of people have probably familiarized themselves with a very particular online course website. I think the most popular out there for Android development right now is Udacity. They have a couple of really great programs that are more in depth that take 10 plus weeks to get through. And they're called nano degrees. So they basically have worked with Google to set up a course of videos and courses that go through Android development in general, and then there's a couple other side tracks as well. You can also do things like iOS development, web development, machine learning. They have a bunch of there. And a couple other ones that I want to mention here, caster.io. That's actually ran by one of the guys who runs the Fragmented podcast. And so it's a great website because it's more of like an expert level one. And I refer to it quite often when I'm stuck on a particular problem and I need to like remind myself how to solve this problem. Caster.io is a great channel, or a great online learning website. There's also Treehouse, Udemy, Tuts Plus, and Vocella. I don't know how to pronounce that. And then each of these, some of them have their own communities too. So Udacity actually, if you go through the Nano Degree program, you can actually interact with other people that are going through the same program as you at the same time. So that program involves you working on new projects. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them. And you can interact with other people that are going through the same project and like sort of interact with each other to make sure you're solving the problems right or getting the projects done right. So that's a great outlet too. And then if you do one of the Nano degrees with Udacity or a different online course, just make sure you have enough time, schedule like, I think Udacity recommends like 10 hours per week. It's a great way to like really force yourself to get into Android development if you haven't already. Nowadays they have, I think, a test at the end where you can get a little badge, so you can host it like on your resume or your website or something like that you passed the Nano Degree program. And there's a beginner Nano Degree test, I think. And there's also, I don't know if they've come out with it yet, or there is an expert one that either they're working on or they've already come out with. And then the last topic here is hands-on. So if you're more of a person that like you have to get in and do some like write some code, or you have to get in and like work on a project with a team or something like that, or by yourself, this is a topic that you'll want to focus on. And I'll go through a few like sub topics here that you can really focus on for Android development specifically. So open source, one of the best things you can get involved with as a developer nowadays. It's personally my favorite way of giving back to the community. I do talks, every once in a while. I write blog posts sort of every once in a while, but contributing to a project or giving back by open sourcing my own projects or libraries is like one of my favorite ways to get involved in the community, because you get to really help out people at the root level of like actually solving their problems or helping other people's problems. So one of the great ways to get involved, if you haven't gotten involved with open source yet, is on GitHub. There are a few other Git project hosting websites out there, but I think GitHub is the most used for open source projects and the easiest one to contribute to other projects. So if you do get involved with it, basically there are several ways, and I'll go through each of these, I think 3 or so ways. First, if you use a library for your Android development, like let's say you use Picasso, which is an image caching library and loading library, or Glide or something like that, and you see that there's an issue with the library, create a ticket. That's the easiest way. Like go into their project, create an issue ticket, and don't just like write everything's broken, because that's not helpful at all. But write the specific issue in the title and write reproducible steps so that the library developers can actually solve it. That is one of the easiest ways to get involved with open source. The next 2 are more in depth. So if a library out there is lacking a feature, so this is like one of the early ways that I got involved with open source. I found a project that was sort of a picker library. They had like a calendar picker and a number picker and a bunch of different pickers. And I saw that they were lacking a feature with the calendar/date picker. And basically, I said, hey, would you all be interested in me providing this feature for your library? Would that help other people out? Would that help you out? And they said, yeah, jump on it. So I created a ticket, described what I was going to implement. And then I created a pull request after forking their project, implementing the feature, and pointing it back to their project. I created a pull request, and it was great. It was a great learning process because you get to go through interacting with other developers. You get to go through a code review process. So they will give you feedback on what you wrote. And I wrote code for a different team, for people that are in a completely different part of the world. And it was just a great learning experience for me. So if you see a library out there that's lacking a feature and you want to contribute back, you can even do this as long as you ask your boss, if you have an Android position, ask your boss to see if you can just provide that feature back to the library. Because a lot of times people will just like create their own library or fork a project and then write the feature on top of the library and then never give it back. But that's really silly to me because it's really easy to just create a PR and then have them review it and then merge it in so that other people out there who are also Android developers can use your feature that you wrote. And it's a great thing for resumes. A lot of people look for that. And I wouldn't say that it's a necessary, like a requirement for being a good developer, but I think it's a great learning process. And so I would totally, recommend getting involved that way. And then another one is just if you've created your own reusable, extensible set of code, like maybe a small library or a little feature, create a GitHub project for it. Upload your code, make sure you remove all of your, maybe your Google Play service keys. Don't post any key stores or anything like that, any identifiable information that's unique to you. But post your code up there, and even if no one looks at it in several months, it's no big deal. You have a place where when you work on a new project, you can refer back to your code and maybe check it out and work on it a little bit more. And maybe over time it becomes this great project that becomes something like RxJava or something like that. So just think about it that way. And it doesn't really need to be fully complete. Like if you want to just work on a little bit and post up a tiny feature of it and do it over time, that's perfectly fine. And so let me go to the next one. The next one, if you haven't heard of it, is CodeLabs. Google has a website called CodeLabs, and I'll actually take you all there now. So CodeLabs is a website where Google has hosted some sort of beginner projects where you can get involved in a particular feature on Android, web development, cloud services, all sorts of things. And you can sort of filter down by the particular topic that you want to get involved in. And on Android specifically, there are a lot. So you can get involved with Work Manager, the new Work Manager libraries that just came out. You can get involved with performance testing. There is a huge long list of code labs that you can get involved in, and they're just little mini projects, and they guide you along the way. So it's really not difficult at all. One of the things I like to do with these is while I'm at work, if I have a couple of friends at work that want to try out some new feature of Android, code labs are a great way to do them together, and then you can all learn together a specific code lab topic. And also not just work friends, you can do these at meetups. So our meetup in Durham, North Carolina, we actually will walk through code labs sometimes, and just you can go through a code lab together and learn a whole topic while the whole room of people who are Android developers walk through it with you, and then you can help each other because you're all in the same room. You can also do that over a webinar too. There's no balance with this. So it's a great resource. So the next thing is mentorship, and I've only got a few slides here, so if you have to drop off, no worries. All this is up on my article, and I'll post it afterwards. But mentorship, there are a couple of websites, one in particular called codementor.io. And then also Stack Exchange has one called Stack Exchange Code Review. That's at codereview.stackexchange.com. And this is a great way to, like, if you want to have like a lifelong, not lifelong, but like maybe over the course of a year, you have a mentor and they help you out in becoming a better Android developer. This is one of the great things of Android developer meetups, is finding a mentor or a mentee. So if you're more of an expert, I would recommend finding someone that you can help, because more than likely you're gonna learn something from someone who is more of a beginner. I can't tell you how many times where I've just blown through working on a particular feature or an API in Android, and then working with like a more beginner developer alongside them, I learned more about that API than I never ever thought that there was there. So it's a great outlet. Finally, this one's super obvious: Stack Overflow. If you're at work, please don't just blow past the questions. If you see one that's actually helped you, please upvote them, because it actually helps other developers out there. And if you have an answer, even if you're at work, make sure your boss is okay with it. But if you can provide an answer, that's a great way to provide feedback to the community and help the community grow. There are countless very specific problems on Stack Overflow, and they all need answers. So, contribute there too. And then finally, one of my favorite ways is to just download apps that are on the Play Store. I can think of several top quality apps that are out there that are built by companies that have hundreds and hundreds of developers. And, sometimes it's great to just get involved with trying out an application to get inspired by it. So in particular, the Plaid app that was built by Nick Butcher and a couple other Google developers, that's on the Play Store. And it's one of the best ways that I've come to learn some of the new material animations and the new material UI components. They have built a lot of really fancy stuff in there, but it's very well thought out and very well designed. And I regularly look to their code, which is also on GitHub. The Plaid app is on GitHub, and I look to their code to see how I can implement a particular animation within my project at work and my project in my free time. So it's a great way to get inspiration from other people, and also give other people feedback. If you know that there's an Android developer on the other side, leave a comment on Google Play and say, wow, your Android developers really worked on this tirelessly, because I've never seen any other developer work on something like this cool. That really makes another Android developer's day. I love when people try and give me feedback on the app, even if it's this feature could really be implemented in this way. That's totally fine. Constructive feedback is great. Don't say this app is dumb, I'm uninstalling it. That doesn't help anyone. But if there's another Android developer on the other side, give them feedback. And then finally, the last two slides here, I just want to talk about my routine, so you guys can think about what you want to incorporate in your routine. Some of the things that I do, and this, let me mention, this has taken place over a long period of time. I didn't just throw all of these into my routine in a matter of a week, because I would get way overwhelmed. But what I like to do is in the morning, when I'm eating breakfast or something like that, I'll get on Twitter, and I have all the GDEs posted there, or added there, and so I follow them and I get updates from what's going on out there in the world from that particular community. And then also I will scroll through the Android dev subreddit. So that's my morning. Breaks throughout the day, in between, if I just want to get up from work, go grab a coffee or something like that, I'll usually look at my newsletters that are sent to my email. Just like to see, sometimes I'll just scroll through it, and if there's nothing that's interesting to me, I'll just delete the email. No big deal. But sometimes there's something that piques my interest, and I'll read a blog post or a new article from a company. in that newsletter, and maybe it will really help me out in the particular problem that I'm solving that day. And then if I have a large chunk of free time, like maybe in the evenings, sometimes if I'm really feeling up for it, I'll actually go to the Medium app, and read through a couple blog posts there, or I'll try out apps on the Play Store. And then sometimes if I'm like really feeling adventurous, I'll try and I know that there's a problem on a GitHub project, I'll actually try and help the maintainers of that library solve a problem or something like that. And then also, as I mentioned before, we have a Android developer meetup here in Durham. And so every third Thursday, this is a part of my routine. I try to go to as many of these as possible. It's just to go to the meetup, and we have it at a single location every third Thursday of the month. And it's a great way to like just, meet up with people that and talk shop and, just kind of like listen to someone talk about a particular topic in Android. On the weekends, sometimes, like I mentioned before, is I'll watch a couple YouTube videos from conferences, things like that. Or maybe I'm in the middle of reading a book, so I'll get through that. When I'm traveling or while I'm driving or riding a train or a bus or whatever, I like to listen to podcasts. I mentioned that before. I like to use the Pocket Cast app. And then, so yeah, I've incorporated a lot of different sources into my life. And while all that may seem a lot, I'm a little crazy. So you don't have to do all of this to be a good developer. This is just what I do. And it doesn't mean that I'm a good developer. It's just that I've really found a hobby out of Android development. So I've gotten more involved. Maybe I need to find better hobbies or something. But, you don't need to feel like you need to do the same. Maybe you just pick up a couple of these things and, try them out. If they don't work, then maybe you try out a couple more. And if they don't work, then, just go back to your normal life. No big deal. You're not any different. But, if you really want to get involved and start to learn quicker, really figure out what's going on in the Android developer world, a lot of these things, if you incorporate it into like sort of a little routine for yourself, you're going to help yourself out a lot, especially with your career. So like I said, take it slow. Don't add a lot at once. And know at times that it may seem overwhelming because Google is releasing new APIs and new, versions of Android and updating it constantly. And Android Studio is constantly updating. I think they have like 3 versions ahead, and it's kind of hard to keep up with all that's going on. You're going to feel overwhelmed. Every Android developer feels overwhelmed at some point. If you talk to someone that says that they've never felt overwhelmed before, you might want to find a different friend. But basically, you're just going to feel overwhelmed. It's a natural thing. It's not a big deal, and it's okay. And so what you can do to help yourself is just find a little niche in the Android development world. A lot of my friends have done this. Is like, I have a friend that's really involved in videos, like managing, caching, buffering videos, streaming them. He's gotten really involved in that just because of the work projects he's worked on and the hobby projects he's worked on. So like that is his niche. He knows everything there is to know about that. And if there's a problem that I have with video streaming that I need to implement, I probably will go to him. So you can do the same thing. Like if you want to become a Kotlin expert and you want your buddies to know you're the Kotlin expert, get involved in Kotlin. Don't worry about the other crap that's out there. Just focus on a particular thing. And if you enjoy it, that's great. Get more involved in it. And so, yeah, like I said, no one is an expert in every Android feature. There's not a single person that is a developer out there who is an Android developer who knows every single API. Even the Google developers out there, they lose track of their own APIs. They do not have a way of knowing everything, every single thing that is built into Android. It is such a huge platform that it is impossible to know everything. So just keep that in mind. And then, build your own routine. Use some of my examples here in the different categories, whether it be social or hands-on, written, audio, or visual. see what you know is best for you and sort of build those things into a time in your daily routine or your weekly routine when it's best fit for you, and you will be able to learn quicker. And it's something that you can also put on your resume. It's a great thing to just show other people, other companies you're applying to, that you're motivated about it, and that you really enjoy Android, and that'll help out a little bit. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. You can follow me on Twitter at W3VShark, and also on GitHub, just my name. So yeah, I can open it up to questions now. I think we've kind of reached a little bit over an hour. Anybody have questions? Maybe I can help out. Oh, so maybe I'll start with one of the questions that was posted in the chat. The question is, how can one become an Android software engineer? Is there any roadmap you can share? That's a great question. That's a very question. What I would say is find someone who's already an Android developer and just take a look at what they're doing. But also any of the things that I mentioned so far, like the easiest thing is just to get on Twitter and follow all of the Android's Google developer experts and just see what they're posting and read up some stuff, and maybe you will end up looking at a GitHub project and learn more about it. There are countless Android projects out there that are open source. You can read the entire code set. And that is a great way to learn how to build an Android project, in my opinion. But there's also a ton of online courses that so another question is, I'm new to Android, but I'm starting with Kotlin. Any advice for me? Like I mentioned earlier, go to the Kotlin website. Their documentation is the best documentation out there. But also there's a subset of their website that's called try.kotlinlang.org, and you can actually a small set of little tasks that help you learn Kotlin. You actually interact with the code. It coaches you along, and that was one of the best ways that helps me learn Kotlin as an Android developer. So that's at try.kotlinlang.org. Anyone else have any questions? All right. Well, I think that's it. I really appreciate all of y'all joining, and hopefully, the video posted afterwards can help other people who weren't able to join today. Oh, it looks like there's one more question. I'll answer this question and we'll call it a day. How do you get over frustrations when your code isn't working? So there's this funny video that this reminds me of. There's an Android developer who was one of the original Android developers. His name is Rito Meyer. And he had this funny video of where he forgot to, when he was trying to Android, and he forgot to call .show, so the toast would never show. And there's a YouTube video of him getting frustrated about it, and he spent like half an hour trying to figure out why the toast wouldn't show. And he got super frustrated. And you know what? Frustrations are going to happen. And if you get stuck on something, reach out to the community, because all of these resources that I mentioned today are going to help you. There are a ton of resources out there, and maybe you'll find something that reminds you to call .show on a toast. All right. So yeah, I think I said I'd call it after that. Oliver, do you have anything else?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank you for leading us through this webinar. We really appreciate you've enjoyed the presentation, and we say thank you very much. and let's get in touch and see how far we can push this community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I'd love to come back and talk at any point in time. I know I mentioned I maybe have time to talk about offline architecture, but maybe we'll save that for a future date sometime.
Is anyone having something to share with us so that maybe we end the meetup?
What's that?
I'm asking if any of the members has anything to share with us.
Sorry, I don't know if I caught all of that. I can definitely share the offline architecture stuff at a different meeting, a different time. But I'll make sure to send you the link. Oh, someone already posted it in the chat. All the resources for all the links for every single thing I talked about today is in the article that is posted in the chat right now. So you can go to my Medium page, which my user is W3BShark, and the article is there with all the links. All right. I appreciate all of y'all's time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Okay, same to you.
Thanks. See ya.
See you.
All right. Bye.
Hello, Android Ghana. There were a lot of noise from why? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, there were a lot of noise from your back. I don't know.
Okay. Sorry for that.
Okay. Are you the Oliver?
Yes, please, sir.
Okay, Charlie, make we have some small video chat so I can see you well.
Okay.
Maybe if you remember me or not, I don't know whether you still remember me.
Your boss?
Yeah.
So
you remember me? Yeah, your face looks familiar.
From Takwa?
Yeah, Takwa. 2011.
2011, they are check.
Yeah, Refi.
Yeah.
I say, I say, yeah, 1 be boom. The man is a contact.
Okay.
If any group now here, now my stable line